Hey guys, got some new stuff today. Everything but the blade is new to me and actually new period. I got a good sale on this Open Comb Slant razor from Fatip. More on it can be found at a recent mail call video I did. I've got the closed comb slant that I used a month or two back for several shaves. Wasn't really able to find a wonderful blade that cut me well. It was very comfortable, but just didn't give me a close shave in my trouble spot area because I can't go against the grain. If you can go against the grain, I bet that might be a great razor for you. New to me is this Zenith horsehair brush. This is the extra soft, and just did a test lather with it. So it's been lathered once with Williams mug. The fibers, the hairs here have absorbed water. I'm going to get them back in the water until we start our shave. I figured that a Old Faithful Gillette Silver Blue with just a few uses on it is going to be a good one to test this slant razor on. And then this is a soap brand I've never tried before. I have tried Mondial before. I don't know if the Antica Barberia is a different line of soaps in the Mondial company, or if that's a certain company. I'm not really sure. This is a shaving cream. It is pretty soft to the touch, and this is the Originl Citrus. This is a 100 milliliter container that Connaught Shaving provides, and somebody recently regarded on a comment that they really like this shaped container as well. Not only does it allow plenty of room for loading with its wide nature here, but it's thin and fairly strong, and so it travels really well. And this is plenty of product. If I were to fill this with a sterling refill puck or portions of it, it would last for me for months. So we will play around. While we're here, why don't we go ahead and, since I just washed my face with the Williams lather that I used as a test lather for this brush, I don't really need to splash water on my face, but I will get this brush back in the water. Let's use my 1/4 teaspoon scoop to get this cream out of here. Okay, it's almost like Cella. It's soft, but not super soft. I wouldn't really call it a cream. I would call it a crope. And so we've got a 1/4 teaspoon there. And if it's like some cropes, that'll be a ton of lather. If it's like others, that'll be just enough. So we'll just see what happens with this one. All right, done spreading it around into the bottom of the container there. And it does feel soft enough where it was very easy to spread, but not so soft that I wasn't concerned with it not getting absorbed. And so I did press it pretty thinly and firmly onto the bottom of the bowl in most of those places. The scent right now, even right from the tub there, is not very strong. It's very light, so we'll see if it opens up during the lathering and workup. And I will get a little bit of water on my face here, just to remind my face to stay conditioned. Shake a lot of the water out, since I don't really know what to expect from the soap. This, as you can see, it's got a little bit of lag to it when it's wet. It did not behave this way when it was dry. The hairs would snap back into their conical shape, and so obviously it does absorb some water as it soaks. 3.5 days of growth. Oh, now see, we've just released some of that citrus. It's jumping up at me. I did not smell any kind of funk with the wet brush. I just used it with Williams one time to make sure it was clean and just to see how it felt. That's all the prep this brush has had. There's almost like a fishy smell coming up. Very strange. Oh, let me fill up my jigger with 40 milliliters of water so that we know how much water we used during the shave. I tell you, with these black bristles, it's so weird to look and see that kind of black and white coloring, kind of a messiness. With the boars and the badgers I use, the coloring is not that way. In my test lather with Williams, I worked it on my face for a while, and the tips did provide a small amount of prickle, but I enjoyed the backbone. It kind of has medium backbone. It kind of has higher backbone toward the closeness of the knot, but the tips and the top half of the knot, the top half of the bristles splay easily and comfortably. And so it kind of averaged out into a nice medium. And with the tips, I do believe that I read that horse tips do change over time and get better. If you have any more information about that, please post it, especially if you've been using horse brushes for a long time. A little bit of water in the lather really kind of came alive there. Time for a little bit more now. Put a little bit over 2 teaspoons in so far. Lather's looking really good. The fishy smell is starting to go away. I can smell a little bit more of the citrus. Orange specifically. I think that it's a mix of 2 scents that's giving me a fishy smell. Now, my father was a fisherman, and I've been around my share of fish, and so it's not repulsive to me. Other people might say, you know what, it might be vetiver. There's something that's flattening out the scent and causing it not really to smell shavy, you know. Florals, vetiver, soapy smell, all those kind of seem to be colliding in maybe not a great way. But the orange is a more dominant note. So at least it is overriding that conglomeration that's coming across to my nose as a fishy scent. Well, look at that. We have got tons of lather here. It has a good bit of structure to it. As you can see, it's holding its own. It does look nice and curvy. But it looks like maybe it's the old school kind where it's not going to be low and gluey like the buttery, conditiony ones that are popular the last couple of years. Let's go for a little bit more. Definitely not adding near as much water as the Williams test lather I did. And because I've never used this soap before, and because I probably suspect that it's of that older pattern, I think I might run this a little drier than I might normally do it. The feel of the brush right now is good. It's splaying easily as I push it down into the bowl and work it around. Feels like it's going to be comfortable. Yeah, that fishiness is gradually losing ground. Citrus, something pleasant, it's kind of coming out more. Obviously, fishiness is not one of the scent notes they wanted to have for this soap, right? The slickness here, that's really pretty nice. It's staying resident on my fingers as I move my thumb over my fingers. I'm still leaving a nice layer of slickness that's there when I come back instead of being pushed away. Nice. That's encouraging. Very good. I just recorded 3 videos before this one. I did a mail call video where I talked about this horse brush and some some other items like this Leah cream. I got the Cella Bio, the organic soap that they have put out over the last year or two. So unwrapping this silver blue here. And this looks like maybe it's 6th use. I also got the Perazzo, the super formula, the newer formula that they put out. I've heard it's much better than the original. So let's try that out. I had an order from Connaught Shaving, and so I was able to hook myself up with a lot of European type products. How much blade flex do we have here? Yeah, a good bit of movement, so obviously I will need to check it before using it. I got a body soap, bath soap of Saponificio Veracino Cubebe. Alright, here he's assembled. The blade tabs are reachable, and that's good in this case, in case you need to do any adjustments. So let's look. Yeah, this side over here needs to move just a little bit. Most of the time I don't have to fuss with the Fatips very much, not enough to really worry me. With wet hands, this handle doesn't feel dangerously slippery, but it is a little slippery. That'll be interesting to see what happens. I may, due to the slipperiness, just disregard the attractiveness of the handle and the fact that it's something different that will fit my other Fatip razors. I may just never use it for that reason. All right, I think we've got a nicely aligned blade. And let me get my face wet and we can start putting the lather on. On that video, the mail call video, I also talked about the brush containers that I ordered from their Epsilon brand, but I bet they are some other brand too. What else did we have? We had this very soap, obviously. We had the, I talked about all the soaps. We had this razor that I'm using. I also bought a base plate. Connaught Shaving sells the Fatip base plates separately for just a few dollars, a few pounds, several pounds, maybe more accurate. So I bought a black one, just for fun. Closed comb. This is working up in kind of a pasty way. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit more water to it. This method of using the jigger has a weakness, and that weakness is the addition of just a few drops of water. It does not do that very well because of the whole pouring aspect. It looks like this soap I can take a little wetter than I thought, which is encouraging. You can also pour a little bit on the side of your brush and kind of do a flip flap like this, painting stroke. Well, shaping up to be a pretty good lather. I don't know how many scents they had. This could have even been the only one. This also may have been a part of a sale, and so I only saw the one that was on sale. The brush is not holding a lot of lather inside of it, and sometimes that actually makes it a little harder to add water. Adding a little more to the bowl as I go here. The time that we spend Fine tuning it is also handy because it gives the lather time to kind of soak into the skin and protect it well. 3.5 days of growth is going to be an interesting test on this razor. Usually the slants will cut very efficiently, and so I got a feeling it'll work nicely. So the slight prickliness has kind of added up to just a little bit of irritation with all the scrubbing that's necessary here. I'll have to see if that becomes a problem with longer use, with use over and over and over. Repeated use is what I meant to say. All right, slant, open comb slant. It has wonderful blade support very close to the bottom and to the edge, the cutting edge of the blade, and so often a very smooth movement with the edge. Since we have 3.5 days of growth, I'm not really going to focus on buffing and going over areas to try to make sure I have the right angle. Just kind of going to cover everything once. It is tugging, so in that respect, a newer blade might potentially have been a better idea. But I got a feeling it's going to be really nice after this pass here. So rinse now. All right, next pass. I added some water into the lather as I was adding water to the brush. So let's just kind of combine everything. This is a very hydrated lather. Look at that. Looks really good. A few bubbles, but big deal. Yeah, this is different. The scent is nice. Just kind of a low-key, citrusy, orangey type scent. The lather feels nice and soft, luxurious, going on my face. From my fingers there, as I was rinsing suds off, it rinsed pretty quickly, so it doesn't have a whole lot of, I don't know what ingredients, butters or whatever, that takes something so long to rinse off, I don't know what does that. So now, I did leave behind a good bit of some stubble. And I am still getting a little bit of tugging right now. So that's interesting. I wonder if this slant requires, newer blades. We'll just have to see. It definitely does not yet feel too aggressive. We'll see if that changes by the end of the shave. Because it was tugging, obviously, that could totally be by virtue of the massive number of days of growth it's having to deal with. And rinse. Very nice movement on the razor in terms of glide because of the lather. Very nice. Well, I tell you what, judging from my reading, I believe that if I'm going to like a horse brush, this is probably it. And I think it's doing a good job. With horses like this, I feel better about the future of shaving. If somehow, badger brushes were outlawed and boars were, then surely we'd be able to continue using horse brushes. And if they can do this, then they can do even better. So I'm very happy with this. Left side still had some stubble. your left side. My left side felt very smooth. This side over here felt very nice. After that pass, second pass there. And this is being very good. This is a nice, seems to be a nice mild slant razor. Yeah, it is still providing some cutting feeling and a good face feel. I liked the performance of the Maggard slant, but I didn't like really the face feel of it. It just felt like there was too much metal touching my face. It didn't really feel as much like a razor. I know I'm being picky, but just the way it is when there are other ones. And it turns out I like this one. Until we get to the end of the shave, we got to make sure that we get to the end of the shave and see the closeness, and it needs to be on par, and then this one can be a yay or a nay. So that was the third pass. I got a reasonable shave, but I am going to do a touch up on my neck in the spot where I so often have to do more touch ups. Matter of fact, why don't we just do the whole neck? So, happy with the horse brush. Pretty neat. I'm definitely going to keep it as part of the rotation. Put some uses on it and see what happens. Right now, after 3 passes, in terms of irritation from the slant razor, I don't feel much. The prickliness of this didn't really help. It gave me a tiny bit because I just finished working my face a couple of times with the sample shave with Williams, and then this one, a lot of scrubbing, and then as I kept having to add water, that meant more brush action. But I don't believe the razor is adding too much irritation at all. Maybe a tiny bit, but it's really not, almost not enough to mention. Closeness over here feels terrific. This feels pretty good over here. All right, now here's the little tricky spot. That is my trouble spot, at least this side of this patch here. And so I'm going to switch directions and go up that way. Nice, it's pretty good. Oh yeah, that's pretty nice. The soap is leaving okay residual slickness on the other parts of my face. I would just be safe. I would re-lather in areas that you would go back and revisit. Get a good rinse now. It's fortuitous that I'd be using a horse brush today, that I would have the horse brush arrive within the last couple of days, because I've also been talking with a commenter, a fellow shaver, who asked me about the badgers. How do I feel about the mistreatment of badgers regarding like the over in China. He didn't mention China, but that's where they are in terms of making using them for making different things like shaving brushes and stuff. And I may have mentioned on this video, but I don't really mind, because they're, as far as I understand, their whole bodies are being used for various uses, whether it's medicines or meat or fur or the bristles. And so I'm fine with that. Excuse me. Obviously, if there's some mistreatment going on, I want that to stop. Can I make that stop? Probably not. But I would like that to not happen. But as far as I know, I mean, you know, it hasn't been brought to my attention. If I felt like there was something I could do, then I would definitely, think about doing that. The nice thing about the horses is that those bristles, if I haven't mentioned it yet, can be clipped and trimmed from the animal while they stay alive. And then I assume they would regrow those hairs, which is really cool, right? So that's a great way to move forward. And so I forgot his username. that we were talking about that. And so he might really find this, the use of this brush fortuitous for him as well, because that might be one that he might be interested in investing in, and look at some of the other horse options that are out there. I think with the boar brush, the animal is killed as well, but I can't remember for sure. Maybe not with the boar. All right, well, I'm happy with the scent on this. It was very light during the shave, but I remember the experience due to the scent, or this part the scent played was welcome and enjoyable during the shave. Yeah, Originl citrus. I can see that name, almost like classic citrus. It's not going to turn any heads, but it's going to be pleasant and enjoyable during the shave, and that is what it needs to be. I'm really happy with the performance of this soap base. I'm glad I bought it. It's not top tier, but it's very nice. And I'm happy to have another lather. Now this one has a lot of micro bubbles, and that's just the way this soap base kind of seems to work, and that's okay. Some soaps can do that and be and not seem airy feeling, and this is one of them apparently. It does have a little more body than I might normally expect, but it is very wet. I mean, look at that collapsing on itself like that. That is very hydrated. Other better soaps can be a little bit more dense while being this hydrated, but still very nice soap. It's got a lot of competition in the world, right? We got lots of good soaps that are available for us to use. How much water did I end up using with this shave? Total of 20, 25, 28. 28 milliliters of water. That is almost 6 teaspoons of water. And that was a 1/4 teaspoon of soap. And we have another 2 or 3 passes of lather available. So you can use a little bit less than a 1/4 teaspoon and still have plenty of lather for your shave. Little goes a long way. Pretty good economy with this one. Very nice. Happy with that too. Now, let me pause you while I check the results here. There are a few hairs that have are still showing a little bit of length. It's kind of standard for me, and so I will bet that this razor might really benefit from a newer blade. And so what it might be is a slant that provides a very good blade rigidity, but it's nestling the blade. It's not making it very exposed. So it's rigid because of the slant nature, that torsion it puts on the blade. But it is not exposed a lot, which means that it's not super aggressive. And so it might be kind of a mild slant. And so in that sense, it might need a certain kind of blade to work really well, which is kind of nice, because if you theoretically, it might be possible to, if there are a bunch of blades that are kind of don't work with it because maybe they've been smoothed out too much, as you find blades that are less smoothed out. Sometimes maybe they're in their second or third use, depending on the blade. Then you start to hit that prime zone where you get this closeness with that comfort. I don't have any kind of irritation or anything here. My face feels terrific in terms of closeness. So and that was just 3 passes and a touch-up right there. That's a standard amount of passes for me, and that's on 3.5 days of growth. So I got a feeling that if I were to whip out a Gillette Silver Blue that had just 1 or 2 uses on it, I bet it would be even better. Maybe even a feather or a Kai that tend to be a little bit more edgy could really be an exceptional blade, delivering that perfect balance because of the level of mildness, the level of kind of the maybe recessed or neutral exposure instead of having positive exposure. Can I tell if it's got positive exposure when it's a slant? Kind of. In the middle, it's very close to the comb, but actually on the edges it lifts up a little bit. Check the other side too. Well, this is good because I did get it pretty well aligned properly. The other side is a little better. So there are some variations on the ends here that dips down. It does not. There's a little bit seeming more exposure, maybe. The gap underneath the blade seems a little bit more. So, first is that the razor seems like a pretty good one. I'm looking forward to putting more blades in it. Secondly, I did not notice any kind of slipperiness with that handle. So that's very good. It was very natural, felt in control during the whole shave. Nothing jumped out at me as needing adjustment or causing alarm or better be careful. So that's nice. That worked out. Very happy with the soap. I'm happy with the horse brush, and I expect maybe it will continue to be in my collection for a while, but it all depends on that future, that when does it get those softer tips. So that'll be fun to see. 28 milliliters of water, quarter teaspoon of soap, and it was kind of a gritty soap. Not gritty and abrasive, but just gritty in that it just wasn't a full cream. But that's not a negative. It's just the way the soap was made, and that's fine. And it spread out, just different compounds there in the soap. I assume that's not a negative. I have experienced other soaps that are like that. They didn't affect the shave. And as a matter of fact, the lather was nice. And the lather's not gritty at all. So that's just I bet there's a soaper out there that could explain that potentially. All right, well, that's a good shave and a good one too. It was a little tuggy at first, but not too bad. I've forgotten all about it. So we're good. Very nice. All right, guys. Yesterday I got my second COVID shot. I shouldn't have got it in my shoulder that uses my mouse as I use that for work. I should have got it in my left arm. So it's a little bothersome, but that'll pass in a few days, right? I have not experienced any symptoms, like some people have gotten a cold or flu symptoms after. I do feel a little more tired, but to be honest, I haven't got a lot of sleep lately, and so that could be me, fully could be me. Wonderful. Well, there we go. So, Fatip, I'm looking forward to more shaves with you. This soap purchase was nice. Brushes, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with you as well. Now, I know with many boar brushes, after you strap them on a towel after the shave, you will start to see more and more bloom. I don't know if that's going to happen with the horse, but as you can see, we do have a few little outliers there. And so I'm going to guess it happens to some extent. But this is pretty much the shape of the brush and the knot as I received it. So by and large, it has kind of snapped back to the original shape. I think it's pretty. It is it's a dark brown in color. I don't know if it's coming across into the resolution there. The handle is solid black from Zenith there, and the hair here has a slight brown tinge to it. Obviously, this brush would be a prime candidate if you had a soap like Lathering from Barrister and Man, or maybe Night Music, or one of those that has a lot of vanillin in it that can stain those lighter colored brushes. Well, this guy's not going to have a problem. So the Antica Barberia from Mondial, maybe is how I should say it, and this is the Original Citrus. And I can see how they would start out with a scent like that. Enjoyable, good, felt good. It had kind of a classic citrus scent to it, without being too sweet, but without having too many other elements that jumped out. It wasn't too spicy. It wasn't too cologne-y. It's a very nice, balanced, even-keeled citrus type scent. So very cool. Balm. My face has pretty much dried. and it feels pretty soft, so definitely doesn't feel dried out. That's important to notice, so that's cool. So the soap leaves my face feeling good. And let's find a balm or product. It's not the right season for it, but I feel like using Samhain from Southern Witchcrafts. It's a great scent for autumn, but I mean, honestly, I just like it anytime. I mean, except maybe if it's blazing hot outside, perhaps. But it's not right now, and I'm not outside. Just felt like using that today. Doesn't have alcohol, so it's not going to give me a burn. But even in my cold water rinses, I didn't pick up any kind of irritation, any kind of tenderness where I maybe shaved too close. Definitely didn't have any bleeders or weepers or anything like that. Oh man, that's good. Yesterday I was enjoying Autumn Ash from Southern Witchcrafts, and today it's the Samhain. Though correctly pronounced, I believe officially one would say Solween, but I'm just going to say Samhain. Where the Fatips tend to fail some people, I believe, I've got one razor that's like this. I've got several Fatips, and almost all of them are perfect, but is the placement of these pins. And in one, I have one that's just a tiny bit higher up this direction. It ends up okay because that ends up centering the blade for the most part. But it does make it a little difficult to get the blade on and off, a little tedious, but still not too bad. This one, however, perfect. I had no problem aligning the blade perfectly. I had give in either direction, so it's always going to be able to have that blade exactly where I want it in a good balanced position. So in terms of the alignment issues that sometimes plague Fatips, according to my stats, I'm going to guess 1 out of 10 razors because I've tried about that many. Given that these are $25, $28 razors, but they're lifetime materials, brass, made of brass and just plated, I think it's and they shave well. I think it's a great choice, great option. You're not going to have to worry about the threading breaking inside the handle like you do with the Mercurs and Parkers and Jaggers and Muleys and all those clones. Nice long threading too, so you know it's got a good hold. So I'm a fan of this guy so far. Well, there we go, guys. Talked about some new things that I got, used several of them during this shave, showed you others, talked about others. Previous to this shave or nearby this shave video, you should see the mail call video. It talks about more of those products that I got in recently and some things we can expect over the next few weeks. You should also see the test lather video for the Williams, making a Williams lather and cleaning the brush and just kind of experiencing it for the first time right out of the box in terms of use and getting into a lather with it. And then also a video about the brush cases that I have. Some of the ones that I've used because I brought in the new one to the pack and I wanted to show you the ones that I use on a regular basis. There are a few others that I have, but they're not as enjoyable as the ones I showed in that video. We had a pill type medicine container that was tall enough to fit a brush. We had just a general cylindrical type plastic container with a flip top lid, a pop top lid. And then we had a parts container from Home Depot. And then we had the Epsilon container that I think I showed you on this video that kind of screwed, in and out. So those are on that video too. All right, well, it's time to get back to work. And it was great to take a break and do videos for you guys. And hopefully in this one, you enjoyed something's helping you out. Talked to somebody just the other day who sometimes likes to turn on my channel as he's falling asleep, just taking a rest at the end of the day, and I really appreciate that. I've seen some other videos out there, and I do like the ones, I just enjoy the ones that bring a little bit of kind of peace and calm to the world. That's just what I enjoy. And so that's also what I enjoy putting out. You guys take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Have a good night.